let's enroll a new student. So we'll go over all of these later. We're going to go over how to enroll a student first. So let me just switch into junior high. So you still need to be in the correct school when you enroll somebody. But now whenever you want to enroll somebody, you're going to go to school and enrollment, click on it, and then you're going to enroll new students. Now that we're at enroll new student, we're going to do the same thing that we always do. This screen has not changed at all. So we always start with the student's last name. So test student, and then you just want to copy their legal name. And then you want to put in their date of birth. So let's say their date of birth is 10/15/2010. And then you need to put in their gender, say they're female, copy that. And then you can put in the primary phone number here, or you can wait until later. It's completely up to you. And then when you're doing summer enrollment, you put the first day of school, which I don't remember what day that is exactly. But we're just going to stick with, let's say, the 24th, and that's going to be their first day of enrollment. Which we're going to do today. And then you want to put in their full-time equivalency. If it's junior high, you do grades 6 through 8. If it's elementary, you put the correct grade level or whatever the full-time equivalency is. And then for high school, it is always going to be 1. And then you want to put in their grade level right here. So whether they're 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, we'll make this an 8th grader. And then you want their entry code. So remember, E3 is any enrollment from out of district. And then if we were to get like a student from Brighton, we would do E2. And then a re-entry. So let's say they're coming back from withdrawing and they come back, we would use one of these re-entry codes. We're going to do E3. And then the track, you always choose A. And then district of residence, Troy Academy. And then we come down here. Do not worry about any of this stuff. Now we can fill in the street address. So I'm just going to put the schools. 4141 North 67th Avenue, Phoenix 85033. Then we just click submit. We're going to ignore that. So it says that there are no family results for this student. So you just click continue. If there were results, you can click on related or copy, whatever it may be, if they really are related to each other. And so now it automatically brings you to this screen. So make sure that you put whether or not they are Hispanic or not. So let's say they are Hispanic, but they are Asian. Now when you come down to the race, which is going to be on another page, I forgot. Yeah, race will be on another page. I'll show you how to do that. Now, if they didn't say they were Hispanic, let's say they weren't Hispanic, but they said that they were Native American, you would click this, but then you need to look at their tribal affiliation. So you need to figure out, are they Mojave, are they Gila, are they Hopi, Navajo, whatever it may be, and make sure you click that in there because the federal government does care about that tracking. So we'll stick with Asian and Hispanic for right now. So now you have the date of birth, country of birth, state of birth. Yes, you will need to adjust this if they are not born in Arizona, so always double check that. And then you want to put the mother name, so we're going to put mother, mama, I guess. And then father, papa, and then home language. You need to fill out all 3 of these. This is very, very important. It helps us when we're filling out our need codes. It also helps when we pull information for the district data assessments. So make sure you take a look at whatever it may be. Now, if they don't have the language on there, call Dustin. Because if it's not on there, that's just gonna kind of suck. So let's say this student speaks Filipino for the most part at home. but they do speak English, and they first learned English, but they speak Filipino at home. Now, get unique ID. When you click on this, and we're not going to fill it out because this is a test student and we could mess up our result at the state, but when we do this, you click on that blue button. Okay, for some reason it's being silly with me. So right here, it shows that there are no student matches, which is correct because this is a random made up student. So they're not going to have a unique SACE ID. So that blue light is filled in. We would click next and it would autofill it. I'm not going to do that right now because we can't do that with this one. Now, if it's a student you know came from another school within the state of Arizona and it's not showing results down here, and it's giving you something that looks like this, where it's a brand new person, do not fill it in. Let Dustin, Rachel, or Danielle know, and we will look it up and find that student SACE ID. The other thing you can do is if you have the paperwork from the previous school, from an Arizona school, look at the state ID or the SACE ID. So it'll either say AZ student number, state number, SAIS number, whatever it may be. You can type that in manually here, even if you have the name wrong, because it could just be based on however the school spelled it at the last school or how the parents decided to put it on the enrollment packet. But general rule of thumb, if you want to get an accurate unique ID, you're going to want to make sure you put the name that's listed on the birth certificate. And then you just come down here. This is just reiterating all this. Tuition payer. Do not change this. Do not change it at all. This should always be state funded. Now, for some reason, every once in a while in the younger grades, especially in kindergarten, for some reason it will show that that we're not getting tuition. If you have it labeled as that, that means the school will not get funding for that student. So you have to make sure that this says state funded. Right here for full-time equivalency, right here it says that it's not saved. It should be. We want grades 6 through 8 for the full-time equivalency. For elementary, it's going to be either kindergarten or grades 1 through 5 for full-time equivalency. And then for high school, it's always going to be 1. And then don't worry about special enrollment code or anything like that. So now we can click submit. Okay, so now I enrolled the student when school is not in session. So you're always going to get these fail checks whenever that happens. So when that does happen, you're probably going to have to refill out some of the information. So you just want to go through and you want to make sure that it is correct all the way through again. See all that. All right, and there we go. So now all we have to do is we need to change their enrollment date. So because we don't have school in session on June 19th, we have to change it to be a day we do have school in session. So I'm going to use an August date. I don't remember what our first day of school is. So we're going to go with the 19th, just to be on the safe side. And so now we can click submit. And they are now enrolled. Now it says transferred out, but that's because it's not going to show enrolled until we start the next school year. So from here, we need to go in and make sure that everything else is filled out. So we're just going to check the state enrollment information. So for my student, this should not be filled out. So this is what I want to see. I don't want a unique ID because this isn't a real student. Now, if you had put in a state number and this wasn't there, you need to do the get unique ID, or you need to type in that state number from the previous school paperwork. And then you just want to double check and make sure everything's correct. If you do change anything, click submit. If you didn't change anything, don't worry about it. So now we're going to go into compliance, and we are going to go into demographics. And we just want to make sure everything is filled out correctly. So right here is where I was talking about that scheduling reporting ethnicity. So ethnicity, we have Hispanic. They are Hispanic. But they are also Asian. So we can put either Hispanic or Asian Pacific Islander. Now, if they are Hispanic and you already have this listed as Asian, I would label this as Hispanic. Just because when we pull data, we pull from this information box and this information box. So making sure that at least this one says Hispanic, if they are, is important, even if they are Hispanic and Asian or Hispanic and Black. Now, let's say they weren't Hispanic and they were Black and Asian. For this one, choose either Asian or Black, whichever one seems to fit better, or whichever one you think of first. It doesn't really matter which one you put, because we're going to have the information either way. So having this box is how we ensure that we list both races for whatever student it may be. Now, let's say they are Asian and Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. For this one, it doesn't really matter. You're going to use Asian or Pacific Islander for the same one. Because when you're talking about ethnicity, they're the same ethnicity. When you talk about race, they're two different races. Now, let's say they are Hawaiian and American Indian or Alaska Native. This one, you're going to use either American Indian or Asian or Pacific Islander. It's kind of just whichever one pops up first. I would usually put the second one that comes in order. So what I mean by that is that since American Indian comes before Native Hawaiian, put Asian or Pacific Islander here. Because when we pull the data, this is going to pop up first before this one. So it'll just make it easier when we pull the data. So again, but if they are Hispanic, always make sure that Hispanic is listed right here in the scheduling reporting ethnicity, because there's no Hispanic race. Now we have our date of birth, country of birth, all this jazz, and we just double check. Now, if their parent is in the military, this is where you will fill out that information. And then you just click submit if you do change anything, which we didn't change anything, or we did change something. We submitted this. So we click submit. Now, let's say you need to put in this student's immunization. That is going to be over here, and we're going to go over to help. We're going to click on immunizations. And then here's the immunization. So now, let's say they got their DTaP 3 years ago. So 6/19 in 2021. There you go. So now let's say that they already have the chickenpox, so they don't need the vaccination. So what you do is when you click on it, so varicella for chickenpox, you're going to come down here and you have, oh, there it is, exclude. You're just going to put that in. And then you want to do it for both of them. The other thing you can do is you can click on the chickenpox vaccine, and on the exemption for the type, you can put history of disease. So chickenpox, you can't get it again if you've already had it once. So that one would be a history of disease. Now, if they have a personal belief, so it's a religious belief, that would be permanent. If they have a medical reason for not having it, it would be permanent. Now, sometimes there are times where it says temporary medical or personal beliefs. Now, temporary medical could be maybe the student is getting tested for an allergy to a specific to a specific vaccine, then we would put temporary, and we would have to put the expiration date. But when we put permanent, we don't have to worry about the expiration date. And then history of disease, we would put just had chickenpox when they were 5, whatever it may be. And that's what you would do. And so now it's exempt, and then you don't have to worry about this anymore. And then the other thing you have to remember is when you are saving it, you cannot save it without putting comments right here. So let's say you just input data. Now you can click submit, and now it will save. So now all these other ones that are red are showing ones that this student is out of compliance with. So varicella, if we didn't put that exemption there, this would be showing as red. But because we have the exemption, it's not showing. Now, if they have a medical exemption, if they have a personal belief exemption, you need to make sure that you put it on every single one of the vaccines. And then again, whenever you put data in here, you need to put some type of note in this area and then click submit. Otherwise, it will not save it for you. So now let's say we have our emergency contacts we want to put in. We're going to come back to help, and we're going to go up here where it says emergency and medical contacts. And then here's where we would put their emergency contacts. And then you click submit whenever you enter anything in there. All right, now I'm going to go a little bit out of order because I realized I forgot to go over how we put in their parents' phone numbers and emails and stuff like that. So you're going to come over here to student profile. You're going to go into demographics. And again, you want to make sure that you copy from home address. This needs to be filled in, otherwise we get an error whenever we try to pull kids' addresses. You also want to make sure that you have any of the parents' contact information filled out right here, and then you click submit. And then I would not save the addresses to your computer, because otherwise every single time that you go to type in an address or anything, it's going to pull down a whole bunch of different options for you, and it just kind of gets a little annoying. So now the other option that we need to pay attention to is when you click into student profile, you're going to see other info. You're going to see right here an option for an alert. This is where you can put in an alert for, let's say, a student has a restraining order against a particular person. This is where we can type that in. If the alert expires and never does, or if the alert never expires, you want to make sure you have 000 in. So now that we've gone over how to do an emergency alert, let's go over how we do a medical emergency alert. So we're going to go back into help. We're going to go into emergency medical contacts. And down here at the bottom, this is where you're going to put the medical alert text. So this is where you would put if they have a peanut allergy, or maybe they carry an EpiPen, or maybe they have really severe asthma, whatever it may be. And if it's one that never expires, again, you want to make sure you have that 000. And then as always, click submit. So now, how do you go about withdrawing a student? Well, you're going to go over here to school enrollment, and you're going to click on transfer out of school. And then right here, it's not going to let us do anything because the student is inactive. So because they're technically summer enrollment, we're not going to be able to withdraw them, but it's going to be the exact same steps as we normally do it. Now, if you want to pull the student's withdrawal page, we're still going to do the same thing. So you're going to go back to student search. You're going to make sure that the student you want is in the current selection. They're already in there. So you're going to go into data and reporting. You're going to go into school reports. Sorry, not school reports, just regular reports. You're going to go into compliance reports. You're going to select pupil withdrawal data report. And then you want to make sure the selected one student only. You click submit. And then you just keep clicking refresh on this button, not up here. You want to click this refresh button right here until it says that it's ready to go. So now it says completed. You can click on that. It's going to download it for you. Now, this student is not going to have anything pre-selected in here because I haven't actually withdrawn them. If you want it to be pre-selected in the box, you're going to want to make sure that you withdraw them, select that correct withdrawal code, and it'll select it right over here. And then normally it will have the data added in, so it should initial it for you. If it doesn't, you need to do that. And then when you added this information, and then here's where the parent guardian signature is. Now, if the parent is calling by phone and they don't want to come in person to get it, do not put via phone right here. You're going to come over here to not 19A. You're going to come over here to note where it says if parent or guardian is unable to sign for this form, the school district should indicate the reason the signature was not obtainable in this space. So this is where you're going to want to put parent called via phone, does not want to come in person. And then you want to make sure that you sign here and date here. And then right here, you'll notice on 19A, there's a signature withdrawal code update when applicable, and then that date. So if we withdraw a student and they withdraw as a W-41 because we don't know where they're going yet, but then we get a request for records and we have to change it to a W-1, you're going to want to in-person check this box physically on the actual paper, and then you want to sign here on 19A and date here on 20A, and then if there's a withdrawal code update on 18A is where you would put the W1, and then you also want to make sure that you change it in the system as well.